Thank you, George. What a spectacle. We'll be looking into that further tonight. But Kenya and other African countries may have to reset their diplomatic engagements with the United States in the wake of Donald Trump's victory in the 2024 U.S. presidential poll. Among the notables, according to defense and foreign policy analysts, is the presence of Kenyan police in Haiti, which risks defunding with the entry of Trump. Apollo Kamau reports on why Trump's priority for Kenya and Africa may change compared to the outgoing President Joe Biden administration.
Kenya and other African countries are likely to take a backseat in the wake of Donald Trump's election victory in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. With major conflicts in the Middle East and Europe risking global stability and trade rivalry with China, Trump's entry will be full, making Kenya and Africa less of a priority.
He will not pick up the phone probably and call Ruto and say, how are we doing? They will all have to line so that he can deal with Israel's, he can deal with the Russian issue, and he can deal with the Chinese issue before this African thing come into that is not going to be his priority. And therefore, what is it that Trump and the American people can gain from Kenya? That need to be very clear, need to be very concise, 1 or 2 pages and no more.
At stake for President William Ruto is the presence of the Kenya police in Haiti, whose future looks bleak under a Trump presidency, coming at a time the US and Ecuador have proposed replacing the Kenya-led mission with a UN-led peacekeeping mission.
We must actively engage and get as close as possible to where Trump is. We must address the issue of our involvement in Haiti. Otherwise, we're going to end up being the one transporting our people back. And this is going to happen very soon, because that's the first day it goes in the office signed executive thing to cut it off. And then after that, you can't come to him and say this was a committee.
Professor BAMBA, a professor of defense and foreign policy, who has worked with the Kenyan government in the US for the better part of his 40-year stay in the United States, says it's time Kenya speaks the Trump language and utilize the likes of US Ambassador Meg Whitman in Washington.
See, Meg Whitman, and I'm sorry we didn't use as much as we can. And two, some of the people start complaining about it. Meg Whitman speak corporate language, very high-level corporate language. She understands the need of Africa, and she also understands the need of corporates and how you can marry that together.
President William Ruto, a bosom buddy of Joe Biden, and a dalliance of the U.S. given the two countries' historical ties on trade, security, and governance issues cannot be ignored by Trump, given Kenya's importance to the U.S. in the region. Just a week ago, President William Ruto met CIA Chief William Burns at State House to discuss security matters in the region, a historical visit by Ruto in May to the U.S., the first in 16 years by a head of state from Africa, and to mark the two countries' 60 years diplomatic ties, a testimony why Trump cannot afford to ignore Kenya. Apollo Kamau, TV 47.